Hello you fans, Madarante here, and welcome to an updated deck profile with Infernoid. On the April 2016 ban list, the deck got hit really hard. Reasoning got hit down to 1, Upstart went down to 1, Chicken Game got banned as a turbo form would not be now accessible to speed up the access to Reasoning. And yeah, the deck is no longer meta. It wasn't meta to begin with. In the OCG, it was meta, but in the TCG, it's never been meta. We've never had like Monster Gate free. At the same time, we've had Left Arm Offering free and Reasoning free, but it still got hit, mainly because of Cosmo utilizing Reasoning, and Monarchs were starting to utilize it with Kuraz and Return of Monarch form. And yeah, Reasoning went to 1. Very painful, and Monster Gate didn't go up any higher, which is also very painful. And we didn't get any further plus, no plus at all. So we have to use alternative methods in order to gain pluses, and that is to limit down our targets for our reasonings so we get further mills, and use alternative engines to access monsters like PSY-Framelord Omega and Infernoid. So, without further ado, let's go into the deck. We have one PSY-Frame driver and triple PSY-Frame gamma. This is based on OCG's usage of the deck. Mainly, one deck profile in particular, which really just suit my stance, and that was using PSY-Frame gears. And the particular one in question was PSY-Frame gear gamma. Since there is a lot of monster decks and you would generally have to use monster effects to win the game, PSY-Frame Gear can easily eradicate that, negate them on your first turn when you're not even in control, or on your turn for something like Titanic Galaxy, and then you can access PSY-Framelord Omega and gain a plus from this. So free gamma helps a lot. It doesn't clog with the Infernoids. They get milled alongside the Infernoids since they cannot be normal summoned or set. So therefore they can just be milled and you won't hurt your engine. Whereas PSY-Frame Driver doesn't actually impact Infernoid either, since it is a normal monster and doesn't contribute to the level restrictions of Infernoid, which can be very plussing. Plus, you can summon Infernoid Decatron, send a Pyramus, and Synchro Summon for PSY-Framelord Omega that way, which is great. PSY-Frames are definitely working, and it definitely fit my control playstyle. So this little engine works better. I am not using the light one engine, so it would contain too many large targets, and it would either mean I have to cut down my Decatrons, or risk my reasonings not getting me to where I need to be. Then we have 2 Infernoid Anunsu. We're running 2 of this bad boy now because Infernoid is now in the deck and as a pseudo engine. So we need to have a target in the deck, and having 2 of these more or less reassures this. It is our boss monster, it is our dark hole, and negation of spells and traps by tripping a monster. Very powerful. Then 2 Deviati, same principle with Void Imagination and Infernoid, but it's our Heavy Storm and monster effects. Very powerful. Then we have 2 Infernoid Etondel. Etondel, I will have tried it at 3 and I never liked it at 3. At 2 it does work. If you were going to play something like Sky Scourge, Neuraleus and Phantom of Chaos in this deck, you would bump it up to 3, but for pure Inferno deck, I don't think it's worth putting it at 3. Infernoid Etondel gains the effect to additionally attack if it destroys a monster by battle, only once per turn, which is powerful, and it has the generic tributing effect to banish a card from the field by tributing a monster, which is, banish a card from the graveyard, which is very powerful again. It's loads of DD Crows, which is good for them against the meta at the moment, like PK Fire and Blue Eyes and Monarchs. This can screw them over quite effectively. So yeah, Etondel quite good. And it's also an accessibility for Bishop Balkan with Decadron, but I'll get onto that in a minute. Then we have triple Infernoid Cytsumus. Infernoid Cytsumus is the best Infernoid from my perspective. It can non-targeting banish as long as it battles a monster. It doesn't have to destroy that monster. And also we have the tributing to banish from the graveyard. All the Infernoids have that. Only the big ones have, all the main littler Infernoids like Etondel and Cytsumus have that option in either player's turn. The little ones have it during your opponent's turn only, and the boss monsters don't have it at all, or Decatron. But essentially, Satismus can get around Cosmo, it can get around Utopic Future, it can get around Monarchs. It's very, very good. Then we have Triple Infernoid Patrulia. Recently got a rarity bump in the new ODS pack, but this really should have gone to Inferno Saitsumus. But Patrulia is an MST and very good for accessing Framelord Omega, since you can just use Decatron to send Harmonic to the graveyard. And speaking of Harmonic, we have Triple Harmonic, although it's not very good in this format because there are a lot of non-targetable monsters, and destruction doesn't really get you where you want to be. It's still a target to access with Decatron and Patrulia to bring out Framelord Omega. Then to Antra, this is more or less cut down to, may even cut it down to 1 in the future, just because monsters can't be really targeted that much. It can bounce with spells and traps, but that's really not that good of an effect. It's 2000 defense and doesn't have much synergy to bring outside from another Omega. Then 1 Infernoid Pyramids, rejoining our deck finally. It's one of my favourite Infernoids. Its artwork is beautiful, and it was originally translated as Satan, so what's not to love about this little guy? He targets one set card on the field and shoves it back to the deck. Your opponent can't respond with card effects, with that card's card effects, which is very, very good, particularly since we're entering a pseudo back row format with Cosmo having mass back row, PK Fire having mass back row, Monarchs. They don't have mass back row, but they usually set Stormforce and stuff like that. And Draco Powers having their Ariadne forms. This can be very dangerous against them. So PMA is very good, and it gives you access to Synchro Summon with PSY-Frame Driver. Then Infernoid Decatron. Infernoid Decatron is still going to be our free of. It's one of the best Infernoids because we can send any Inferno from deck to the graveyard, and it gains its effect and its additional levels, which is good. Allows us Synchro Summoning with Omega. I go over this guy a lot, so I don't need to go further. Then we have 2 Void Seer. Void Seer protects Infernoids and makes them unaffected by overwhelming card effects. It's a quick play, so it's very good. And if an Infernoid would be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish it instead. It doesn't start Chain Link, and that's very nice for when you're going to be Regeki'd. Then the new engine for the deck, Triple Void Imagination. Void Imagination reduces all Infernoids that have not had a manipulated level to 1. So you can mass summon Infernoids, but the restriction is all battle damage is then halved through Infernoids. If you attack with Framelord Omega, you're getting full on damage, but if you're attacking with the Infernoids, they're not going to get you too much damage while this is face upon the field. But we mainly use it for a secondary effect. You can send it to the graveyard to fusion summon 1 Infernoid monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or your side of the field. If your opponent controls a monster that is special summoned from the extra deck, you can use up to 6 monsters from your deck. It's a future fusion for the deck. It never got too much play, mainly because Reasoning was still at 3. We weren't really going down the Void Imagination ladder. Before Major Pals never got too much control. They were only viable for 23 days, and that didn't really promote Void Imagination's power in the deck. But now that Reasoning is at 1, this is a pseudo engine to speed up the deck. Milling 6 cards is, well, not milling 6 cards, sending 6 exact targets can be pretty good, although you probably be sending 5 and then a repeated target because you're only getting the 8 effect if you have 8, essentially. Well, I think that's a bit obvious, but yes. Void Imagination, very good. Plus, a lot of decks are using plus decks are using extra decks at the moment. The only deck not really running an extra deck is Monarchs, which didn't get a hit. If they hadn't got a hit, Void Imagination would become extremely powerful, but right now it's very, very powerful. Then we have 1 Void Vanishment to search it out. You can't summon anything other than Infernoid. It's also a Cosmo out for when Infernoid battles an opponent's monster. You can send this to the graveyard to banish both monsters, which can be very powerful. Then onto our 1 of Brigade. We have 1 for 1 because I can switch them our deck from the deck. 1 Burial from a different dimension to reuse our resources, or if the PSY-Frame Driver got banished because you used it on your turn, you can return that to the graveyard. 1 Reasoning because it's now at 1 and I'm so sad about that. but it's our engine essentially. One monster gate, same premise, and then 3 of the new card from Millennium Pack, which is Left Arm Offering. It's a super rare and it's very powerful. If you have 2 more cards in your hand, you can banish the rest of your hand. Add 1 spell card from your deck to your hand. You can't set spells or traps this turn. So sometimes you need to do setup for this. You may need to set like you see as imaginations and wait a turn. But if you just with little amount of Infernoids, you can manipulate your hand so you take the minimal amount of damage from this card, and then search out your reasoning, search out your monster gate, search out your void imagination, depending on the situation. Because void imagination technically is better than reasoning because you get 6 specific mills and you don't lose anything from your spell lineup. You don't have any traps in this deck because we're focusing on our power and speed as well. Then 2 Twin Twisters, because Twin Twisters and discarding the cost is literally nothing in this deck. Then onto the extra deck. We have 2 Infernoid. That fusion summonable monster. We generally only bring out 1 in the game, but a second one is currently needed sometimes, or it can be sent to the graveyard if we've already used one of our PSY-Framelord Omegas. It gains 4 tiers of effects. Its first tier is that it sends 3 cards from each player's extra deck to the graveyard, which you can do stuff with Miracle Single Fusion to bring out Naturia Exterior. But essentially, you're sending 2 Omegas and most likely Gaia Knight, the Force of Earth, and your Omegas return your Knights to the hand, and then 1 of your Warlords most likely to your deck, which is good. You can also do it to your opponent's graveyard, which is also good. Its secondary effect is if 5 or more with different names have been sent to the graveyard. Each player sends top 3 cards as decks to the graveyard. This is a pseudo engine as well. 8 or more effects you're highly unlikely to get. I don't even think I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, I can do the 8 more effects. Each player returns 3 or more of their banished cards to the graveyard. So it's a member from a different dimension, which is good. The 10 or more effects you are unable to do unless you run something like Piazzi or what's the other one? I can't remember the other one. Sagette, that's the one. And each player sends a entire hand to the graveyard. It's really not needed for that amount of cost. But in third tier, good way of bringing out powerful monsters. Then we have the Synchro lineup. 1, Ultimaya Bish Balkan, our god card essentially. Sending Decatron, which is manipulated as level by sending incitements to the graveyard, and a tunnel to the graveyard. You bring out this big beatstick. It can't be destroyed by card effects. It gains 1000 attack for each monster on the board. And once per turn during either player's main phase, you can special summon a limited amount of Bish Balkan targets equal to the amount you can summon on your board, which will most likely be 4 on your board, and then when they've normal summoned or special summoned, 4 on their board, which can be very powerful. It gives you a 10k beatstick, most likely if normal summoned, and boom, you're dead. Very powerful, can be game stealing. Then, Skylight Red Dragon Archfiend, it's a big burner, obviously run it. 2 PSY-Framelord Omega, you can technically make 2 in this deck still, but it's not as accessible. It's mainly to do with Inverted Era. When we get Elder Entity Natis, I will be updating this deck profile to add those in because it's very good with Void Imagination. 1 Status Spark to help your Floodgates to be protected, 1 Scrap Archfiend for the OTK, 1 Black Rose Dragon to blow away the field, 1 Gaia Knight, again a way around OTKing. Then we have the Exceeds. 1 number 8 Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy as a negation for spell cards, 1 Felguard to negate monster effects, 1 Alcei. This is finally returned to the deck. This is because of a friend of mine who played this against me when I was playing Cosmo at the regional last weekend, and he brought this out. I really couldn't get around it until I got top deck to Dark Destroyer, but you can non-target, well, you do target actually. Yeah, you do target for its return, so it can't kill the Dark Destroyer, but it can get away with top decking annoying cards which you can't get any plus from. And it's 3200. As long as they can't summon a Dark Destroyer onto the board, and they only have like a Dark Destroyer on the board themselves, they can't get past this, and that can be very good. and you can declare and basically draw a card, essentially, or mill a card, depending on what situation you want to be in. Then Magic Sea Castle Aegon, or also known as Aegon Sea Castrum, which can eradicate your opponent's extra deck 2 cards per phases, essentially, per turns essentially, because when summoned you banish one, and then when the opponent starts their turn you banish another, which is basically 1 full turn rotation, which is very powerful against extra deck decks. But it can also be effective against Cosmo because it's a 3k defensive monster and can banish something like, say if they're taking in 7 Sins, you can banish that. Say they're taking in Coachlord Ultimate Trainer for XYZ Universe, you can also gain that monster's attack, and that can be very powerful. And then finally Big Eye, because Big Eye is never going to leave my build. So yeah, that's mainly the deck. I have a few side deck options that are good for the formats. The first of these is End of Anubis. It hasn't been that good previously, but it is best this format, since there are a lot of effects activating in the graveyard, or targeting cards in the graveyard. This can negate them. It's essentially a Necro Valley, but it doesn't stop you from banishing, which is brilliant. It's very powerful in that sense. It can stop Monarchs, Cosmo, Floating, and Phantom Knights. Very powerful. Then we have Booby Trap E for a Floodgate engine, most likely with Maskless Restrict, Rivalry of the Warlords if you're taking out your PSY-Frame engine. What else? Anti-Spell Fragrance, Soul Drain, Skill Drain. Booby Trap E can put them back onto the board and then activate in that turn as well. Then we have Mischief and the Gnomes, banish it from the graveyard, lock your opponent out from summoning out high level monsters to XYZ summon, and PSY-Framelord makes soft lock. Same for Daunting Pose, but with Battle instead. Very good soft locks. So yeah, this is the deck. It works nice, I like it a lot, but it's still not going to be tier 1. It will be possibly a tier 2, tier 3 deck, but it's never going to go back to the tier 1 standard it was previously. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. Please like, subscribe if you enjoyed this and want to see further content. If you want to see a specific deck update for the April bans, please leave them down in the comments below. If you got a suggestion for my deck, also leave them down below. And if you want to see when I'm streaming, please like and check out my Facebook page, which is in the comments in the description. So thank you for watching. Matt Durant signing out.